Shabbos Daf Kuf Mem Aleph. Today's email comes to us from Asher Eimer. Hi, I wanted to express my gratitude to Hashem and to tell you that I appreciate the Min Daf and the full shir every day. It's Mamish again, Aiden in this world. Thank you very much, and I wish you lots of atzlacha. Asher, one more. From Ruven Turk from Yerushalayim. I've been watching your Daf Yomi shir on YouTube for the past 4 months since coronavirus has kept us at home pretty much full time. Your enthusiasm and motivation is a constant inspiration to me and to all your regular followers that follow Daf on a regular basis. Made Aliyah 18 months ago. Ruven Turk, Yerushalayim. Thank you. Typically, says the Mishnah, hay is muktzah because it's designated for fuel. So therefore, if you have hay on your bed and you want to lay it out smoothly, you shouldn't touch it with your hands, but you can do it with your shoulder, with the rest of your body. Tiltul min hatzad, tiltul baguf. If you show that you designated it as a bed by putting up a pillow, a sheet, then you're allowed to move it with your hands. There's something called a machbesh. It presses the clothing, and there's two types. There's one for individuals, for a homeowner. So the way it works, you push down the upper board and you put a peg in to hold it in place. You're permitted on Shabbos to remove the pegs, lift it up, take your clothes out. But it's also to put your clothes in and press it because they'll only be ready tomorrow after Shabbos, and it's also to do work for after Shabbos. Shel koifsim, meaning the professional one, for the dry cleaners, it's also to even touch it. Rabbi Yehuda says if it started opening before Shabbos, you're allowed to continue the process, separating it and taking out your clothes. Rabbi Nachman says, if you have a detached radish and you put it in the ground to store it, depends what side up. If you put it with the pointy side down, and by removing the radish, you're not disturbing the dirt, you're mutter to take it out on Shabbos. But if it's upside down, when you take it out, it disturbs the dirt, that's usur. Rav Nachman obviously doesn't hold like our Mishnah of tiltul min hatzad. Rabbi Yehuda says it's permitted to crush a pepper on Shabbos, provided that you do two things differently than in the weekday. You take the handle of the knife versus the knife itself and crush it with the handle, and you don't do it in a mortar and pestle, rather you do it in a bowl. And you can only do one pepper. Rava says if you're already doing two shinuyim, you can do as many peppers as you want. Rabbi Yehuda says if you're swimming in a river, be careful not to come out of the river dripping wet, because all that water is carrying, and you'll be carrying in a carmelis, the edge of the river is a carmelis, you'll be carrying 4 amos. So dry up and then come out. Going into the river and pushing the water 4 amos is not a consideration, since it's koichai, it's his force, and there's no problem with koichai in a carmelis. If you have mud on your shoe, there's a 4-way machlokes. According to Abaya, you should scrape it off on the ground, but not on a wall, because on the wall you're adding mud to the wall. It looks like you're building the wall. Rava says nobody builds with mud. Rather, you should do it on the wall, not on the ground, because on the ground you might be filling in holes. Ashvuya gumas, and that's usur. Marbury Davina said both of them are usur. Rav Papa says both of them are mutter. In fact, that's the halacha, because we pass in like Reb Shimon, Davashin, and Miskavin. If you don't have intent, it's mutter. Rava says a person shouldn't sit with something in his hands right next to the end of the mavi, close to the Rosh Hashanah, right by the lechi. That thing in your hand might fall out and roll into the Rosh Hashanah. You might come to get it, and that's a problem. You shouldn't take a barrel and tip it back and forth to make the ground underneath it smooth. That's a shvuy gumos. You're not allowed to put a rag that's moist into the opening of a bottle, because you might come to squeeze the rag. If you have mud on your clothing, you could rub it from the inside of the clothing, but not from the outside. You could also take your nail and scrape it, provided that you leave a little film left there. I just want to point out that according to Rashi, if let's say you have dust on your clothing and you just wipe it off and there's nothing left on your clothing, you're over a isser da'iraisa. Rabbi Yanai says that if you have mud on your shoe, you could scrape off a brand new shoe with the edge of a knife, but not an older shoe, because you might take a piece of the leather off, and that's an isser memachik. Ahu Saba typically means Eliyahu Navi. He argues and he says, not even on a new shoe. If you want to anoint your foot with oil, if you do it while it's in a shoe, that's also because the oil will go and it will better the shoe, it will be ma'abed the shoe, it will tan the shoe. If your foot is outside of the shoe, and you put just enough to polish the shoe, but you have no intent to polish the shoe, that's okay. But if you put enough oil on your foot to tan the shoe, then it's also for you to put your foot into the shoe, even if you have no intent to tan it. It's also to go outside with a very large shoe. It might fall off your foot and you'll come to carry it. but a very large piece of clothing, garment, won't fall off, and therefore you're allowed to go out with larger clothing. It's also for a woman to go outside with a ripped shoe. People will make fun of her, and she'll come to remove her shoe and walk in the Rosh Hashanah with her shoe, and therefore it's also to do chalitza with a ripped shoe because it's not really a shoe. But if she did chalitza, she's yaitza b'di evet. A woman should not go outside with a brand new shoe because it might not fit her properly and she'll remove it. But if she walked with it Erev Shabbos, even momentarily, then it's mutter for her to go out with it on Shabbos. If you have a shoe on a shoe form and it's really tight on the shoe form and it's a completed product, according to Chachamim, even though the shoemaker didn't remove it, it's considered a shoe and it's mekabel tuma and it's not mukta. According to Rebbe, since the shoemaker didn't remove it, it is not a shoe, it's not a kli, it's not mekabel tuma, and it is mukta. What if it's not on the shoe form very tightly? So according to Abaye, who holds that the shoe form is a klisha malachta l'isser, and a klisha malachta l'isser, according to Abaye, cannot be moved l'tzorich mekaymai, even though you need the room inside the shoe, you want to take the shoe out. Says Abaye, therefore, if it's only there very lightly, then according to Chachamim, there's no isser. According to Rava, since you're allowed to move a klisha malachta l'isser l'tzorich mekaymai, if it was on very lightly, even Rebbe Eliezer would admit that as if it's off the shoe form, and therefore it's a completed kli, and it's mekabel tuma, and it's not muktzah. With that, we finish perek toilim. The next perek is called noitel. Noitel is referring to a person. Noitel adam is benai. He can carry his son, even though his son is holding a muktzah object like a stone. He's talking about in his private domain. He's lifting up the son. Says the Gemara, we're talking about when the son is crying, and we're concerned he'll get sick over this. Not a chadash sekana. Chacham relaxed the restriction of carrying the muktzah in that situation. But if the son is holding money, we're concerned that the son will drop the money and the father will go and pick it up. If the son is holding a wallet and he carried him outside, we have the concept of chay noisetz atzmai. Live person assists in carrying him, so he's not chayiv on the son, but he's chayiv on the wallet. And the wallet does not become batal, nobody's mevat the wallet to the child. Now, we have a similar halacha that if a person carries somebody else on his shoulder, and if that person is wearing clothing, he's not chayiv for the clothing because the person he's carrying is wearing the clothing. But if the person he's carrying is holding clothing in his hand, then the person carrying him is chayiv on the clothing as well. If you have a dead baby, Rachmana litzlan, with a wallet, he's pater midaraisa, like Reb Shimon, who holds that malacha shein tzricha legufa, since you don't want to take the dead baby out of the house, you just don't want him in the house, therefore you're a pater. And the wallet itself, he's not machshav at all at that point because it's batal to the baby, or it's not the way to carry a purse. Have a wonderful day.